Open access. What are the benefits of publishing in an open access journal or platform? The main benefits are greater visibility, and with that, potentially greater impact, both within the research community and the broader public. And the access, visibility, and impact can spur innovation and collaboration. At Taylor & Francis, we have seen that open access articles typically receive substantially more citations, so we see about a 32% increase, and greater readership with over 6 times as many downloads. Increasingly, in many countries, regions, and institutions, open access has become a requirement, or at least strongly encouraged. Usually when it's required, support is made available at the institutional level or via funding bodies. Here's an interesting example of the impact of open access. Kostas Karageorgis published a review article on music and sport in the International Review of Sport and Exercise Psychology in 2011. This review paper has been downloaded over 9,000 times and has been cited in over 40 individual research pieces, been featured in the International Business Times, Huffington Post, and The Atlantic, and has been placed in the top 5% of all research outputs scored by Altmetric. It is also in the top 5 most read and most cited articles of the journal. And here he summarizes 2 key points many make about open access: that it allows for greater inclusivity and that it has the potential to democratize scientific knowledge. But let's take a step back and look at what open access actually entails. There are 2 basic elements to open access: making content freely available and making content reusable by a third party. I'll briefly discuss both of these elements. There are many terms thrown around when talking about open access. You'll hear about gold open access, green open access, bronze open access, platinum open access, diamond open access. The list goes on and on. It seems that there's a new term every day. But today we will just focus on gold open access. Gold open access essentially entails making the PDF, or the version of record, freely available online. And there are 2 ways in which an author can publish open access with Taylor & Francis, either in a fully open access journal or in what we call a hybrid journal. Fully open access journals publish all of their content in an open access format. These journals aren't funded by subscriptions. Instead, most charge what we call an APC, or an article publishing charge. However, many journals are funded by societies or institutional agreements. In this case, either the author does not have to pay or they may pay a reduced fee. All of this information should be clearly presented on the journal website under the instructions for authors. And as I mentioned, often your funder or institution will cover the charge. Hybrid open access is when an author chooses to publish open access in a journal that is subscription funded and much of their content is not freely accessible unless you or your institution has a subscription. These journals charge an APC to cover the publication cost for an open access article. However, many institutions and consortia have agreements with publishers to cover the APC costs for hybrid journals. The second element of open access is how your work can be used after publication by others. If you publish open access, you'll be asked to choose a Creative Commons license, which describes how people can use your work in the future. Some journals do not give you a choice on which type of license you can use, so it's important that you investigate prior to submission if you have any concerns. Here are the licenses. CC BY. This license allows authors to use your work in any way they choose, as long as they clearly attribute the authorship and original publication. And this is the most common type of license you'll find with purely open access journals. Next, we have CC, BY, and C. And here an author can use your work in any manner, but they cannot profit from it. For instance, they cannot include your article in a book that they will subsequently charge money for. Then we have CC, BY, and D. Here the author cannot change your work in any way. They must use it in the original form. For instance, this would mean that they could not translate your work. And lastly, we have CC, BY, SA. This means that when people use your work, they need to attach the same license. This is important also to be aware of when you're using other people's open access work. With the rise of open access, we've seen an emergence of what are often called predatory publishers or predatory journals. I can imagine that some of you may have been contacted by these publishers who show interest in your work and ask you to submit to the journal. They often state that the peer review process is unrealistically short, so they'll talk about days rather than weeks. The websites might feature information that is incorrect or slightly misleading, such as stating that they have a global impact factor. Be aware, impact factors are called just that, never anything else. Here are some key characteristics of predatory journals. They have hidden or unclear author fees. That's why I stated earlier that you'll find all the information about article publishing fees on the journal website. They lack quality peer review of articles by experts in the field. And they guarantee acceptance and or the promise of very fast publication times. So they'll talk about 1 week or 48 hours. If you want your research to be read and respected by others in your field, locally and or internationally, it's important to avoid publication in these fake journals. En masse, they erode the credibility of all the research published in them. However, there are resources to help you make sound decisions about where you would like to publish. For instance, a key resource is Think, Check, Submit. This is a cross-industry initiative which aims to help researchers make informed choices and to choose trusted journals to publish their research in. Think, Check, Submit can help you identify high-quality journals which would be appropriate for submitting your research. And it can protect you against fraud and publishing malpractice. The DOAJ is a database for open access journals. The journals in this database have been screened to ensure that they are legitimate. However, like many databases, there is an assessment period, so new journals that are legitimate may not be listed in the database immediately. In those cases, you'll need to make sure that they're published by a respected publisher. And here is where OWASPA can help. OWASPA is an organization for publishers and service providers working with open access. Members need to meet certain standards to be included. If the journal you are considering publishing in is not included in the DOAJ and/or the publisher is not a member of OWASPA, you should proceed with extreme caution.